All right, Mikey, you ready? All right. Kavan the Kid, welcome to the Rebel Road Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are a filmmaker that's leaned heavily into AI, and we're here to talk about everything that's coming out and, you know, the advancements that seem to change every week. Probably will be outdated by the time we even put this out. But it's something that everyone's trying, everyone's fearful of, or they're embracing it. So I think like this is going to be a really good combo. Bartending today is cinematographer extraordinaire Nick Midwig. Nick's got a spicy little mezcal paloma that we're drinking here, but I know Nick's interested in AI.
I am. I don't think you have a choice not to be interested in AI.
Yeah. The train's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I think train's left, and now it's time to jump on.
Jump the fuck on.
Yeah, exactly.
You made the first SAG-approved AI film, or one of the first SAG-approved AI films. Your follow-up looks like freaking Dune. You made it with, you know, a handful of people. For all the filmmakers out there, are we cooked?
No, definitely not cooked, but if you're not using the tools, then cooked. So I think like AI tools in the hands of, you know, traditional filmmakers is going to be really powerful. I mean, that's what I came from, was traditional film. So like having traditional filmmaking background, I think makes those tools even more powerful. I think right now in this very stage that we're at this moment, there's still a huge need for the traditional elements, especially like the human performances. But I think we're transitioning into, you're going to start seeing within the next year or two, even in the major studios, AI being applied for VFX and, you know, backgrounds and just so many different avenues to essentially bring budgets down.
Yeah, it's funny because 2 years ago was that the big strike where all of a sudden everyone was worried about extras being, you know, digitally created and all of this, and now SAG's approving things. There's Netflix shows that have train sequences, and House of David has an entire sequence. So obviously they're getting on board and they approved yours. Talk to me about the approval process and what are the rules now to get, you know, actors in an AI film and to have it be on the up and up with them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was an interesting process. So the whole thing with Echo Hunter started after I made a Star Wars film that I put out in February, and Forbes called it the best Star Wars film in years. I say I got that by a technicality because Star Wars hasn't put out a film in years, but, you know, I'll take the win.
Take it.
Yeah, and but the one thing that, like, you know, I would see with all things AI, you know, you get a lot of haters as well. Right. And one of the things that I thought was like a genuine criticism was the acting.
We'll come back once it's safe.
It's okay, Cora. You'll be fine.
And like, I did all the acting on Star Wars and then changed my voice using 11 labs and stuff like that. I'm not an actor. My acting career ended in 9th grade. So a
lot of people have.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, you know, it would be really cool to like take this to the next level and bring in real actors. And I knew a guy by the name of Jonathan Younger. He's the CEO at an AI tool called Arcana Labs, but he's also the CEO at Millennium Films. And so I knew he had, you know, a deep roster of actors that he's worked with. And so I reached out to him and I was like, hey man, do you know of like, I was like, I think it'd just be really cool to put like a cool actor that people know into the film. And he was like, yeah, I know a bunch of people. And so then that's when Brecken's name came up and I was like, oh, yo, Brecken, that'd be dope. Excuse me. And so we brought Brecken in and he like, you know, read the script. And then once he read the script, he was like, yeah, I'm in. Like, this is sick. And I was like, okay, but if we're going to use Brecken, we're going to have to go through SAG. And so that's when the process began of like, okay, like we're going to need to get this SAG
That
contract.
was the push to go through SAG.
Yeah. And then at that point it was like, well, if we're going to get SAG approval, we're going to have to then use, every actor will have to be SAG. The process when we went through with SAG was, you know, we applied, I think, as a film, but then they wanted it to be animation. But then we were like, it's technically not animation because we are capturing their facial performance and then transposing that onto like a digital version of themselves. I was like, which is essentially like what they do in Avatar or Lord of the Rings. So I was like, and those are considered live action. I was like, so we ended up striking up what they call a new media deal. And the new media deal is what was put in place. And then, you know, some of the other stipulations of the contract were we can only use, you know, for promo material, all that stuff of the actors for what you see in that 22 minutes of Echo Hunter. Can't like go and create new digital assets and stuff with like Brecken or anyone to promote the film if it's outside of that 22 minutes.
So for a sequel, you would have to recapture things. You couldn't just take a model that you already used.
If it's of the human's face.
Right.
So for instance, I'm making a prequel right now to Echo Hunter, and Brecken's character does show up. But if you remember in most of Echo Hunter, his character's wearing a mask, and this is a prequel. So we don't ever see Brecken's face, and his character never talks. So that's how I'm able to get around, you know, like having a character reappear again without necessarily having to go through SAG.
Take me through the process of the capture, and then what are the steps after that to have it imposed on the AI generated character.
So first and foremost, you have to shoot your talent.
It's been too long.
We shoot them in, you know, a stage or whatever, but I mean, you can really do it anywhere. Like on the first Echo Hunter, we shot a few of the actors at the producer and my fellow co-founder, Mike Mitchell. We shot it at his house. And you
had a Zoom capture as well, right?
We did 2 Zoom captures. Yeah. With Gideon and Danielle. Both of them were Zoom captures because they weren't based in LA. And we just directed them via Zoom. And then Gideon was like, I remember I was like, do you have like a way to record yourself and record audio? He was like, I got 2 iPhones. I was like, that'll work. You know, we'll set one iPhone up, and then he put one iPhone in his pocket for the audio.
Nice.
And what was surprising is his footage actually ended up being the best, like for transposing, and we shot all the other actors on like a high grade camera, but like for whatever reason.
It looked like it was in like a white psych studio too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And the Zoom was the best.
The iPhone was the best. Yeah.
The iPhone.
For recorded, like for the facial performances. For the dialogue, you know, I mean, for the audio, we had an actual sound mixer and all that for capturing the proper dialogue. But yeah, I think, you know, once you have your performance in the can, you also have to get, you know, a collection of shots of their face, like photos. So front facing, sides, all that. And then usually I take anywhere from 12 to 15 of their headshots, and then implement all of those into a model, and then we build a digital model on their face, so literally looks exactly like them. And then you can use whatever image generator you want, whether it's Midjourney, Flux, Gemini, whatever the Google one is. And then what you can do is you can take your image and go over. So I use Arcana to build the models. So then I'll take my image, go into Arcana, and then you literally can just like paint in the face, and then it like switches, and now it's that actor.
And that's in the Arcana interface. You're
painting
the face
that I'm building the models in. Yeah.
And so for your shots, are you mid-journeying every single set piece and angle, and then taking it into Runway or Kling or one of these video generators to then add motion and the action that's happening?
Yep. Yeah. So essentially generate the image. If I need to implement model, go over to Arcana, implement the model like the face, and then I go into animating. Currently right now, the main tools I'm using for video animation is Kling 2.1, Minimax 2.0, which is what I primarily used. Like, that's all I used on Untold. VO3 and CDance. CDance has blown my mind with like its level of realism.
So now all those tools, like, are there certain reasons why you're switching within the movie different tools for what? Like, what are you using Kling versus Runway?
Yeah, does like one perform X better than another? Like, are you seeing different, like this one handles faces better than this one handles background? Or
100%. Yeah, that's exactly why. So like,
I'm shocked at the consistency, because it looks seamless in your film. All those different tools are outputting something that can feel like it all came from the same place.
Yeah. I mean, you know, that's the beautiful thing about color grading. So you go through and do a color grade and, you know, add your slight film grains and, you know, all those things to kind of centralize it. But yeah, like essentially, you know, every tool does something better than the other, in my opinion. Minimax is right now, I think, has taken the cake for action. That's why that's Untold, is that whole thing is Minimax. And so like, yeah,
I've never even heard of Minimax.
They're called like Halio. I just never say, I'm sorry. I always mispronounce it because I love them. They help me out so much. So I just call it Minimax because that's the name of the video model in Halio. So Minimax 2.0, but it's like, crazy at like the action and like being able to like essentially put in fairly simplistic, straightforward prompts. You know, like the shot when the girl is running and the ship is like crashing behind her and she's like running through the water and all that stuff. I literally wrote like, you know, the girl is running, holding a sword. Behind her, a ship is crashing into the water, and then it explodes. And then
That's it?
That's it. Yeah. And then I think, and then like maybe I think I described the camera motion. Like camera is like tracking with.
That was
moving
for
to
the
left.
action.
Yeah, for the visual, for the video element of it. Yeah.
But to that world that you created Midjourney is probably such a more extensive prompt.
Yeah, that's a very far more in-depth prompt. You know, like probably it's still not like as in-depth as what you'd think. It's probably about like 2 paragraphs.
Really?
Yeah. Like I don't normally like I try not to like over prompt in Midjourney because I find if you get really deep on the prompt, it actually gets more messy. So they have a great thing where they tell you to go rank photos and then build what they call your global profile. So like I'm very critical when I'm ranking my photos. If there's like they show you 2 photos and you pick one or the other. If I don't like it, I skip. Some people are just fine with like clicking one because they want to get that profile up. But remember, like every image you pick, it's going to pertain to your profile. So like I very much like fine crafted what my profile looks like. So then whenever I'm generating, I get very specific results. Now, whenever I have to do something that's different, using my global profile isn't the best. So I might have to go make a mood board or a separate, like another global profile, because like in my filmic global profile, like I won't like vote on anything that's like animation looking or anime looking or like 3D render. It'll just be like what's hyper real, very stylized.
Now, can you do that per project, or this is a global thing for your account?
So you can make multiple global profiles and then you can switch between them. But then you can also make things called mood boards, which is like implementing images into it. That one, there's a lot of like the copyright issues stuff with Midjourney. So that's like a whole nother can of worms. I defer to them to let them figure out how that's getting, figured out. But then there's also a lot of, like really cool models that are coming out that are considered clean models, like what they're doing at Asteria with Moon Valley. Like that's a new tool that just came out and it's built on completely what, is deemed ethically sourced data. But then there's also VO3, which is clearly trained on everything under the sun.
Right.
But I think that's because them being Google
and YouTube,
and YouTube, you put anything you put up on YouTube, you're giving them the rights to train on.
Right. Nick, when you saw the cinematography in those films, what was going through your head?
I think for me, what's fascinating about the whole process, something me and Pete were talking about earlier, that I think what I see in it is, I think people have a lot of fear around AI and it's very charged and everything. And I think people think that it's just type in a sentence and the film gets spit out. And I think would be cool to talk about is like how much of it is still like build an asset, build an asset, build an asset, build an asset. And it still needs somebody to kind of have a central vision to put it together. And I think that's what really popped out to me is that like you still need someone to have the vision, keep the consistency going, find like the nuance and the style, not let AI just kind of take everything over. But yeah, it'd be cool to talk about just a little bit like how much of it going in do you have like are you leaning on AI to build the world, or do you have an idea of the world and then you start to like try to make the AI follow that?
Yeah, I mean, it's great points. So first and foremost, I'll start on the image side. Like there's a lot of detail that you have to put in. Like for instance, an Echo Hunter, that's not the AI saying the guy, like Garrick's character has a black mask and this brown jacket, a tan turtleneck and these kind of pants and black boots. Like that's me describing that character. That came from my brain. And then same with like his car and everything. Like you're describing in detail, this is what it looks like. But there are in other cases where it is pulling from trained data, like in Untold. Untold was a concept trailer that I made in 4 days. And this was
4 days you made that?
I made it in 4 days, yeah. So 2 minutes, I think the runtime's like 2 minutes and 20 seconds, made it in 4 days from start to finish. And that includes like the editing and, sound design and all that stuff. And
which you are doing yourself.
I did Untold myself, yes. So that was, top to bottom, start to finish was with me. And like, that was because we were talking to some investors. I had pitched them the idea. They were like, this is really cool. We would love to see like a visual representation for it. And I was like, okay. But they were like, we kind of want it yesterday. And so like, I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna get it done quick. I keep saying, like when we go to make Untold into an actual show, a lot of what you saw in the trailer isn't going to necessarily look like that. Like the one character looks very similar to Timothy Chalamet from Dune. Yes. He won't look like that. Like we'll cast an actor, the clothing will be different and all that. But I was moving at such a pace. I was like, I just need to get the like visual representation of like, this is the vibe. This is what's happening. These are some characters.
When they're in the cave, I thought that I honestly was like, no, they shot this on green screen.
Right? Yeah, the cave stuff.
Like we were all in like a Zoom meeting watching it, and I was just like, "There's no way he filmed this. This is not." But
yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of ways. Like if you play into the tool's strengths, you also have a lot better chance of getting like what you saw there, where you're like, oh no, they had to have shot it. You can easily make a film right now in AI where it will look that way, but you have to play solely into like what you know for a fact is going to be like, bar none, it's going to look incredible.
Right.
And sci-fi fantasy, it can do, but because it's already like an element that doesn't necessarily exist and would, if we shot it traditionally, would still require VFX, we don't have that like basis of realism for it,
Right.
because even like when we go see a movie and it's sci-fi fantasy, we know what we're seeing is like not real. Yeah. It's just consciously we don't think about it anymore. But if you do like real life looking stuff, like I've seen some other creators make things where it's more like something it looks like I would go shoot, like on a camera, very personal and it looks real. Like I'm watching it and I'm sitting there for about like 95% of it like, man, like if you didn't tell me it was AI, I wouldn't know. And so
which is crazy because 6 months ago it wasn't like that.
No, not at all.
Now it's like, because we have some proud people in our group that are like, every time you send them something, they like, I can tell it's AI.
Yeah.
So then I'll like send just a random video, just be like, wow, did you see this update? And then they'll be like, I can tell it's AI. I was like, it's not. But it's getting to the point now where even with VO3, where there's some talking, especially if they add like, if they make it feel like a Ring camera or like any kind of, it's really hard. Like I see people falling for it all the time. Like there was a cat riding on a wolf and they're like, wow, look at these friends. And like, I'm reading all the comments. I'm like, this obviously is not real, but everyone fell for it because it is this degraded, camera system that they've mimicked. And it's hard to see the imperfections because if you're watching Ring footage, it already looks a little wonky.
So I've said that the found footage, Ring footage, any of this kind of stuff, it's the way to go if you want to like go for that. Like right now, you could sell it as like
that Blair
Witch thing, and you could go make like a real movie right now and do it in that style. And as long as the story is good and the acting is good, no one's gonna care.
Right?
No one will care.
Now, prompting wise, I know Nick's very interested in this as well. Like when you go into Midjourney, are you just saying like mimic Deacons, or is it like
no, never?
Is it lens?
Yes.
You're putting all like color grade on there, or you're doing that in like,
I'm doing that more so in post. So
are you asking to spit out log? Can it do that?
No, like it's not very good at doing log. Right. I usually like try to give it like, lighting directions and things like that. And I'll take whatever grade I get out of it. It's usually when I'm making something like a long form narrative, I usually keep the back end of the prompt the same. So like if it's like you and me, like right now talking, like, and we're describing the lighting in here and all that, I would keep, but like the first shot I gen is the shot of you, then the shot of me. I'm obviously going to describe you different. I'm going to describe me different, but the back end, the lens, the lighting, all that, I'm just going to copy paste because the machine's going to have a better understanding of like, oh, like this is the vibe he wants. Like this, it's this world. And then you can also do like ref images, style ref images, where you put an image in and it's like, emulate this kind of lighting and style and look. But a lot of times you can get that through like after you've established your global profile, it'll listen to your prompt a lot better. In the very, very early days, prior to this becoming a business for me, I did use, like in the style of Deacons or something like that because it was great. But then once you start actually working in jobs that aren't just like, hey, dumb social media content that I'm putting out for myself.
Right.
That becomes, a huge legality problem. Mm-hmm. And so I mean, like some of the clients that we work with overseas require prompt logs. So we have to like have the shot, like if this shot was used in the spot, here's the log, or the prompt right next to it of exactly what we prompted to prove that, hey, not anything we said here was referencing someone of it. You know, it was simply just describing the look. And then here's the camera tools and settings, like, you know, lenses and things like that.
I thought pharma ad books were tough to make.
Would you say
Prompt logs?
Yeah. Yeah. They're definitely tedious.
Oh man, you seem like someone who either has some formal or informal education, like in filmmaking. Would you say that's an asset for you? Because I think that's something else, a little bit of a preconceived like fear people have of this, like, oh, well, you don't even have to know anything about filmmaking now, and you could just type it all in and it does it for you. But
I mean,
it seems like the education you have is like an asset to be able to utilize these tools.
I think first and foremost, yeah, I come from a background in film. I worked in music videos and commercials for 15 years before I started messing around with the AI tools. And I remember using Midjourney, like the first iteration that went public, and it was, you know, you gen it and it was a blob. But I had an aha moment right then where I was like, oh shit, this is going to be something.
Oh, yeah.
Like once this gets better, I was like, this is where it's going to go. I just was not expecting at the pace that it went. Like it went so like dominoes falling just so quick, like boom, 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 boom. I think, yes, if you have a background in film, you are going to be exceptionally better than someone who doesn't when it comes to using AI, especially like a director of photography, anyone in editing or VFX or a director, like those kind of jobs will transition very well into using the AI tools. But knowing that, that's why I say get started now, because there's also people who don't have any knowledge whatsoever of film, and they're starting to mess around with this stuff and getting great results. And then what they're doing is like, oh shit, like, well, how do I get better at this? And then they start watching tutorials on how to edit properly, and then they start educating themselves on the film production. I was talking to a guy because he's made 3 trailers so far. It's all he's posted on the internet. And his work, like, it blew me away. I was like, holy shit, like, this is next level, man. And he was like, oh, thanks. You know, like, I just taught myself to edit like a week ago. And I was like, wait, what? Like the sound design was incredible, all this. He was like, yeah, man, I just watched like a bunch of tutorials and taught myself. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, oh, that kind of had me being like, cause I always believed the like, oh no,
this is a tool for us.
Like, yeah, the filmmaker is gonna like always have that edge. And I was like, oh, so like, and I was like, what? And he was like, I can't remember what he did. He did nothing even related to like graphic design, film, like not like it was just like, no, I had this idea and wanted to start messing with it. And it was like, that's
it's the kid with a lot of time and a lot of drive that is going to master this. Like,
oh, well, kids in general.
Yeah. Like where they're going to like, we're 16 hours in a dark room in front of computers, nothing to them. Like, when we used to play like Super Mario until like the sun came up. Like this is what they're doing with prompts.
I mean, a lot of it's just experimentation, but I would say the main thing, like for me, that I think has been really helpful is editing. Like if you know how to edit, you're going to be like, until AI starts editing, which I have no doubt. Like for me, it's never a matter of if, it's just when. So when AI can edit, you know, good, which who knows when it'll be, but it will happen. But right now I'm taking advantage of the fact that it doesn't. So like I pride myself on being able to edit good. Same with sound design. When AI can do sound design, which it's already now starting to do, like you look at when you get your outputs from VO, it's got sound. Every now and then the VO output has some good sound. Like where I like actually get it and I'm like, because a lot of times I'm taking the VO clips, I'm deleting the sound audio and I'm like, I'm going to go make my own. But then there's every now and then a few that come through and I'm like, oh, that one will work. Right. Like that's pretty good. And so you have to like, you know, kind of go through that, but it'll continue to get better. To your point also, it's not you know, one of the things that I always get, you know, from someone who has no experience in the AI tools is oh, well, you just typed in a prompt and hit enter and the movie came out. I mean, yeah, I wish that was the case in the aspect, not literally, but in the sense of like that I didn't just spend 3 months, like with Echo Hunter, I spent 3 months from top to end to making that film.
Right.
But we're talking like 14-hour days of like editing, sound design, you know, putting the shots together. Like essentially what AI for right now, for me, what it's doing is replacing the production side, like going out, shooting it, and that element. Like I'm still shooting the actors and doing that part, but it's very contained, you know, like sit down, we're going to perform your lines, got them, cool. And then we're going into what the production now is, the genning. And so we're going to gen out this whole thing. But I do it, you know, like in traditional film, you go shoot the whole thing, you have all of your clips, then you go through, you start organizing them, you start placing, okay, this is where this is going to go here. With AI, I edit and gen as I go. So I'm literally like making the sequence as I'm genning. So I'm genning it and then bring the shot in my timeline, gen it, bring the shot in the timeline, and I just go down the line, like the whole way through. Because
now you're still working off a script.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. I write, and I still write the whole script myself. Don't use any chat GPT or anything for like, let me rephrase. I do use ChatGPT in the aspect of I am a writer that's very matter of fact. So my scripts for me are very good because I know exactly what I'm going to do visually. Yeah. But it's because it's like guys in a room, you know, and like I don't give it any love. Like my focus is on the dialogue. And then just like, hey, this is the scene, because I already know what's happening in my head. But when you're giving that to actors and stuff, you know, or anyone else, like it needs a little like fluff and like, oh, like let's actually make this like a fun read. So like I'll take something that I wrote that's like very matter of fact, stick it in ChatGPT, and I'm just like, make this better or like make it more like vibrant and like descriptive. And then like I just copy and paste that into, and then I'll still edit like the things. But it's the script I wrote just with like better verbiage in the aspect of the descriptions of the scene elements because I write what I would describe as that part of the script very flat.
If you use it as more like a springboard for ideation, like give me 5 examples and then like riff off of those, like that's a good use of the tool. But it is getting better. Sometimes it has jokes. I didn't think it could be funny, but I've messed around. Like we were messing around with like, let's make a meme account. And the memes that they came up with were pretty good. Like, so I was like, oh, how is chat getting funny? Like, I was like, I wanted to troll sports fans. Like, what if we made this account? And they had some bangers in there. We were laughing.
Oh yeah, no, it's good. And again, it's not if, it's when. Eventually, we are going to be able to throw something into ChatGPT. Like, yo, give me a dope X-Men storyline. And then boom, it's going to be like, holy shit, that's the best X-Men script I've ever read in my life. And that's going to be really, then it's like, you know, I'm very fortunate because right now at this moment, AI has absolutely like changed my life, like for the better. But how long will that go until like eventually it's just like, well, AI is just going to do everything. And it's just like, and then we're just kind of getting it pushed aside. Cause like I have multiple theories of like what the future could look like when it comes to specifically on the entertainment side, not going into anything else, just on the entertainment side. But I'm like, yo, what happens if it gets to a point down the line where, like, for instance, Disney, I'll use X-Men as my example. Like Disney license out X-Men to people to where then like I can purchase like for $59.99 the rights to X-Men. And then after I've done that, I can be like, you know, I want to watch an X-Men film. Hey, chat, like, I want to watch an X-Men movie. It's going to star Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and Storm. Main villain's going to be Mr. Sinister. These are the side characters I want.
Here's my face. I'm Wolverine.
Yeah. Or whoever you want. You know, cast this person. However it goes, and like, and if you might have to pay for like, you know,
the plugin
$199 for Jenna Ortega to play somebody. You know, and then because then like all of these can be like, imagine like all these people can essentially set up AI versions to where they're all going to get paid out royalties. And then I say all this stuff and then I'm like, all right, yeah, let's make that. And it's like, cool, come back in 10 minutes. I go do my thing. 10 minutes later, I come back and there's a full 90-minute made film. And it's like all based on exactly like the X-Men movie I want. But I didn't do anything except just tell it like, hey, this is kind of the movie I want. But it's like, I still want to be surprised because if I already know the beginning to the end, I'm not going to enjoy it. So it's like, you're kind of letting the AI like make up the story, but like I'm giving it the like basis. And it's like, that could become a whole new wave of entertainment if like we develop it to that point, to where it's essentially people are getting their own curated content. And then that content could go out into the public. And then let's say you like the version of X-Men that I thought of but didn't really do, you know? And then is that like what the creator is like, oh man, did you see Kavan the Kid's X-Men movie? Even though I didn't edit it, didn't do anything. It was just like, hey, I kind of want these characters and like, give me this kind of a vibe.
Or is it more like, what was that book series called? Like Do Your Own Adventure. Is it more like you're the main character and you get to decide?
I think that's going to be video games for sure.
Oh yeah.
Video games, it's going to be wild. I mean, like the idea already of like, you know, every NPC having like a chatbot built into them to where I can go up to a chatbot and then like just crazy conversations can take place with an NPC. And then like what happens if it's like choose your own adventure, like NPC character were in a standard game, this would never happen, but I go up to them, hey, blah, blah, blah. You want to go on this adventure with me? They're like, yeah, all right. Okay, cool. Now I've got like this random NPC following me and we're going through. And I mean, I think open world, and then I'm sure you've seen the stuff where it's like the open world gameplay, like how it like opens doors and builds new scenes and all that. Like we're talking Grand Theft Auto real life in the aspect, like you can go into every single building. You can go into every single room. You can go into like, at what point then, I mean, like, you know, we're crossing over into a digital matrix.
Yes.
And we'll
maybe the metaverse will come back and not be all bullshit.
I mean, that was.
Will my crypto racehorse be worth any money?
As much as your NFTs will be.
I keep debating on, will we be Matrix or will we be what's the Ready Player One?
Yes.
Like which two is the more accurate, you know, like future? Because I don't like Matrix before
Probably Ready Player One.
Yeah, I think Matrix before like the machines are like were batteries for them and all that. But I mean like someone who chooses to get like plugged in to live like a digital life as opposed to like a real life.
Sadly, a lot of people will choose that.
I mean, if you can be Spider-Man and it feels like Spider-Man,
I know.
That's tough.
Who's not going to be Spider-Man?
I mean, like, think about it. Like flying through New York City and you can feel the wind on your face. And
I like to like go on a beach and have a catch. I don't know. But Spider-Man's cool.
Exactly, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm past the generation of when we'll get to like the Neuralink and things of that nature too, of, you know, when it'll be just common practice to be like, oh yeah, you know, like I'm practically a cyborg.
God, yeah. That's around the corner. I saw paraplegics playing Pong and
I mean, and it's incredible for things like that. You know, it really is. But
I don't want to plug into that matrix.
Right.
But will I have to just to survive
that's what I've heard. You know, I've heard that essentially AI and machines are going to get to a process of processing so fast that it'll go way beyond like what we can process. Right. And essentially only for us, like we're going to have that same kind of processing power. So that's the only way for us to keep up. But I just live in the now. And so I'm like, hey, right now, make some really cool video stuff. Cool and videos. I'm like, I've managed to make these things, a lot of projects in development and things like that. And I'm very thankful for that because being in the industry for over 15 years, you know, doing music videos and commercials, no one would ever give me the time of day to like listen to like an idea that I had, like when it came to original film. And now like
you're doing press now because you're
I've
the first to the puck, right? It's the Wayne Gretzky thing, be where the puck's going, and you saw Midjourney and you jumped into it. So that's like a huge thing that, you know, and you made something that was exceptional with the tools in the early stages. So that's why I wanted you on. I feel like this is a major moment to document because I mean, Untold really blew me away. It was the first time where I was like, and we're here. Like I was waiting, like when you saw the Will Smith video of the spaghetti and then the year anniversary, what it looked like. Yeah. I was like, you can make fun of AI and 6 fingers, whatever you want. But like in a year, it leaped like 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's something to fear in the speed at which it's improving. And then I think because of it, anybody that was against it realizes that it's just a train that's already moving and you better hop the fuck on before it's too late.
100%.
As a cinematographer, what thoughts are going through your head right now? I mean, you have a lot of knowledge and a lot of skill set to do a lot. I think docu-style stuff, I think there's going to be a backlash of so much AI video where the like realness and capturing real life is still going to be a thing. Yeah. And that's your bread and butter. But
I think for me, I think what's really interesting about this space, like, and I think it's kind of what you're talking about is, I think especially in like the next 5 to 10 years, it's even so hard to like think about, timelines and everything. I think the big world of AI is going to be like the AI assist, the like we still asset gather and then you like polish or add or take away, or like that's kind of, I think, where a lot of stuff is going to go. It's kind of like what you're doing with the actors, it's like you still build the base asset. You still shoot the base asset, you still document the base asset, and then how do you use AI to touch it up, bring like elevate it in a way. Because I think what's interesting, like in the filmmaking process, like what we do is pretty archaic, when you think about it. The idea of like 100 people go out to a location with 40 trucks and set all this stuff up and all these cases and all this stuff, and we haven't really innovated and pushed our industry in a way. And I know a lot of people don't want to, and it's happening whether we like it or not, but that streamlining, that crew of 100 people going down to 20, that VFX team of 40 people going down to 1, I think that's the natural progression of this stuff. But specifically for cinematography, I think there's always initially this like knee-jerk fear reaction, and I think that's coming from a place of people fearing I won't be needed anymore. Like I won't have a skill set. This time I invested is now wasted and gone, and I think people afraid that it's going to happen without me and I'm going to get left behind, I think is like what's kind of at the core of that thing. But I don't know. I think my hope is that we still kind of have like a desire to have some human connection involved. Like right. That's my hope, that we don't lose touch of that. Because I think if we lose that, like, that human to human connection through like the process of art and filmmaking, and maybe that's just experiencing it together. Maybe it's like less of the process and more of like the experience together. But yeah, I mean, it's wild, like how quick it is all moving. And, I feel like this is the moment where it's like, we're all just kind of a little like head in the sand of like, is it coming? Is it not? Is it? And you're like, oh no, it's here.
It's definitely coming.
It's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your film was that moment for me. I want you to know. Untold was that moment.
Same for me, man. It was, I think your work, honestly, your, the Nike spec thing.
Oh, that was great
to
too.
me, where I was like, because I'm talking about this with people for like a couple months now, where I'm like, anything that doesn't need to be a real person, I was like, anything that's like kind of generic person doing X for a brand, I was like, it's all going to be AI.
I feel like AI is coming out at a time that like everything is aligning in the right spot, because like I don't get excited about new movies as much as I used to. All the IP is just retread. Like
it's real rough right now.
It's real rough.
Real bad.
So like this was a shitty 10 years for the studios to play everything so safe and for this technology to come out. And, I saw Untold and like, yes, I see inspiration from things, but I was like, here's a whole world that's built that I'm curious about.
Yep.
Not like, oh, I used to play that video game growing up.
I think that's what's, to me, is the most exciting thing about AI is, before we hit these doomsday scenarios we talked about of it doing everything, is truly like, I think this is going to open the door to like a film revolution, because I think we're going to have so many people.
I needed one.
Yeah. That like have these amazing original ideas. We're all, I think, it's not just you and I think everyone can agree we're tired of like the movies we're getting. It's just so much like I can't stand it. Like when I was growing up, going to the movies was such an event, not only because there was, hardly ever sequels. What it was like you would go to the theater and there could be like 4 original new movies came out.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I miss those moments, like when are we going to get, I know I'm asking for a lot here, but like, when are we going to get the next Matrix? Like that movie changed my life. Like the first time I saw it, I didn't understand it because I was, I think like 9 or 10, but I walked out of the theater just like, I think that was the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Like
that's literally how I felt. Like I was just mind blown. And I think there's like a few directors but it's so when you actually think about how many directors are working in Hollywood, and then there's like 3 to 5 who are making like still original stuff.
Like
it's
the must see, like it was their movie's about to drop. You have
Tarantino,
to go.
Fincher,
Right.
like it's like that number is so small.
Right.
So I would like to see, and I think that's going to happen. I think once we hit that tipping point where I think that'll happen this coming year in 2026, where the tools will be indistinguishable from real life. Like I really do think, maybe outside of the human performance, but I think by the next 1 or 2 updates, everything else you're going to look at it and be like, if I put it side by side with real life shot stuff, I don't think you're going to know which one's which. And when we're at that point, then it's like you're talking about creators anywhere in the world can start doing this. And, with AI, I mean, really, at the end of the day, you're still going to need a budget because sometimes, like, for instance, when I did Echo Hunter, and I'm sure as it gets better, the iterations will get better of like getting a guy that has a faceless mask to turn his head this way and then turn it back like that took me 100 gens.
100 gens.
Because it did not understand. It thought this was the back of his head. Even though like he's wearing, like clothes like this that are all clearly like, this is the front of my body. But because it was faceless, it thought it was the back. So it would do all sorts of weird shit. But yet then like when I have the shot in Echo Hunter where he walks up to the door, he pushes the button, the door slides open, and then he walks in, 2 gens. So it's like, it's funny how like sometimes the more thing you would think is simplistic, guy turns his head, goes back forward, as opposed to guy walks down the hallway, pushes a button on next to the door slides open, and then he walks through. Like you're thinking like, oh, AI is not going to get that.
There's 1,000 gens coming up.
This is a lot of, I'm asking a lot here. Does it right away. Guy turns his head. All right, this should be a simple one. Or my favorite is like, if I have a guy looking down, like, and you want him to look like this, I'll be like, first time I do it, I'll be like, all right, guy looks up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like we got to dial it back here. I'm like, a guy slowly raises his head and looks forward. It's just, and it's like you're doing so many different like keyword prompts of like, okay, how can I figure out to where like he's going to stop here and not like go all the way, But yeah, I mean, that's like some of the funnest stuff about AI is, I mean, it drives you insane, but it's also a lot of fun is the like,
when you nail it, it's a lot of
you're like,
fun.
I imagine it's the same as like, like when you're shooting and you nail it, you're like, yes, got it. Like there it is. But to your point earlier, one thing that I absolutely do miss, but I think it's an inevitable process is being on set. I love being on set. I love
being on set is the reason we do this. The family element of it, the memories, the stories,
the crafty.
I always felt bad for editors because they miss that.
Yeah.
But now this technology
welcome to just being an editor.
Right. Exactly.
24/7.
Damn it. Bye sunlight.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing that's, I think, the most taxing is just being on the computer, like outside of, myself and the other 2 co-founders of our company. So the 3 of us running this business, which also requires tons of like meetings, like virtual meetings, tons of responding to emails and all that. But then we also have to produce the product. So then it's also just tons of genning and editing. Yeah. And so it's like people, you would think like, like how are you physically tired when you just sat on your butt? It's like, man, when you sit on your butt for 13 hours a day and do that like 6 days in a row,
it's exhausting.
You're like I'm like my back, my knees. And it's like, I did nothing, but I'm like, it's because I'm not doing anything. That's why those things hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and the brain crunch. So when you put out Untold and then VO3 dropped, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, when I put out Untold, VO3 was out.
Okay.
So I just chose to use Minimax because I actually liked their action more than VO3. It was when I put out Echo Hunter. So right like the 2 days before we had the premiere, I was doing some like last minute touch-ups on color correction. Kling 2.1 and VO3 dropped like at the same time. And I was just like, wow. Shit. Yeah. Like I just spent 3 months working on this thing and it's outdated, but that happens, but luckily I felt, I had made it to a point to where it could hold up even with like, that was my whole mission. But like the primary tools I used when I made Echo Hunter was Luma's Ray 2 and Kling 2.0, not 2.1, Kling 2.0.
I mean, that's some of the most exhausting thing about AI is just like how quickly new tools are popping up.
Yes.
And then do I dive into it because I saw this, 60-second TikTok that said this is like the newest thing? Is it like, or do I just stick in a platform? But you're kind of, are you dabbling with everything and just?
Unfortunately, I touch everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, usually I will, when I hear something new coming out, I don't go off of the promo video or the hype video. I wait till I see someone make something with it where I go, oh, wow. And then once I see that, then I'm like, all right, got to use that one too. But outside of like the tools that I'm already using, like for instance, the new one that I'm using now is C-Dance. Like, I'd started hearing about it. And
Do you know about C-Dance?
No, that's not TikTok's, right?
theirs
that's
is Dreaming.
ByteDance. Oh, that's right. Yeah,
so
C-Dance
is made by ByteDance.
ByteDance has its own.
Yeah, and it's called C-Dance. And I mean, the realism, there's no artifacting, like zero. There is no warping, zero. So like, it's the only complaint I have right now with C-Dance is like if I custom train a model character and the camera like is like pushing in on them, I do notice like the character's face. Like you won't notice it by watching, but I'm like, that's not the same person anymore. Like, right. but it's so subtly done. But the details. I mean, like I did this one shot of one of my characters. I couldn't use it because it ended up not looking like her anymore. But like you could see each individual little pore in her skin. I mean, like razor sharp detail.
Yeah.
And but I've been using it for like some of the other shots. Like I had this shot where these characters are walking upstairs, and all the other models were struggling to some degree with it. And then I had C-Dance do it. Not only did it do it perfect, but like I noticed on the railing of the stairs, like I was seeing like individual water droplets hit and explode. And I was like, I literally had like a oh shit moment. I was like, oh, whoa, this is really good.
Yeah. The level of detail, like even just seeing like sometimes you see the test examples of like the little paper boat in the water, and they'll show like, Kling versus Runway versus VO3, and like
side by sides.
They all look pretty good.
Yeah.
And like the little like nuances of real life and real physics that are involved is kind of wild.
Did you see the thing? I haven't got to play with it yet. All my friends are playing with it right now. Runway's new tool that just came out.
What's that?
So essentially, you can put in a shot, whether it's real life or AI. And let's say it's like the camera angle of me right here. And then you're like, okay, I want the camera angle over here. And it's the same shot, but now the angle's over here. Or you can do like above or this. Or like, for instance, in their examples, it's a guy like riding a motorcycle. And it's like, okay, but now he's in regular daytime on the highway. Okay, now I want it to be on the snow. Now it's a snowy tundra. Now I want it to be like the end of the world. Now it's like a flaming apocalypse. And it looks good.
That was the one that I was like, oh, this is going to shake it up.
Yeah.
Like immediately shake up. Like
everything.
Like it's a football player walking out of a stadium and it's empty. And then I say, add crowd of people.
And it's
add
like
snow.
Yeah, exactly.
Add lens flares.
Yeah. And like you said, like give me a reverse shot of that, something you don't get on set that day. And now it's like, oh, we got to, client wants a reverse of it, with X in the background. And that to me is like where you're like, oh, we asset gather, and then having that freedom to just prompt something in without building a world. I was like, this one's going to shake things up quick. I sent that out to a lot of my like ad buddies that was like, if you're not using this one, like right away, like, yeah.
And the ability to like just remove things like crazy. So easily.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an immediate, like, you're going to be able to move at such a pace, but like exactly to your point with like the football one, I mean, that you either pay a bunch of money to get extras, or you're going to pay a lot of money for a VFX artist to make all those extras. Right. Or now it's just like, do it, boop, done. Yeah. And you're just like, man, and it looks really good. Like not like crappy. Like it looks really convincing. Like it looks real.
So I just want to dive back into prompting for a second. Do you, in your action footage for camera work, do you add camera shake, depth of field? Like what things?
Yeah. So I'll add like not necessarily camera shake, but like I will do sometimes like handheld tracking shot. So it kind of has that kind of like, this. For depth of field, I won't put in like a number or anything like that when it's like the video animation. I'll do that like in creating the images, but when it's the video animation, it's more of just like if I'm going from you to you, like kind of thing, it'll be like, in the the depth of field goes soft on you, and then like we go over there, like we're
You
talking
can do
about,
like a rack focus.
yeah, you
in-
can talk about like
Interesting.
changing the depth and all of that. And some tools do it better than others. Like I found like VO3 does really well with like rack focusing and stuff like that. And then there's also, one of my other favorite debates that's happening on the internet right now is the regular prompt versus the JSON file prompt. And so I've been doing both. I think both work.
You haven't seen a difference.
I haven't. I mean, I've done the JSON prompting to emulate some of those. Like when I was just doing some test videos of the, like for instance, like IKEA box in the guy's bedroom, then it explodes and it builds the bed and the closets and all of that. Like, yeah, like I felt like it did it, and it was easier to get the result from the JSON prompt because like essentially I just took like a very base prompt and ran it into I think it's Gemini. I always get all of Google's tools confused.
Right,
they have such
yeah.
weird names, but essentially their version of ChatGPT and was like, hey, make this into a JSON file. And then it did, but it was like way more elaborate than like,
And those
what I
JSON files play in all those platforms.
no, VO. They're
Just for
it's
VO.
VO. Yeah. I mean, I think all the other ones are definitely better, like native, you just like how you'd be talking. I mean, I think with VO as well, like I still get the same kind of results. I haven't discovered, but I have found that in certain cases, like stuff like that, I was getting ever so slightly better results with the JSON file.
Interesting.
Like when it was like something like very kind of intricate and like more like just like that ad kind of stuff that has like a lot going on in it and everything. But
Does Kling go off that credit system also?
yeah, Kling's on a credit system as well. Yeah, they're all on. I mean,
So it does there is some price to it. And then that's the scary thing, right? Is when do these platforms get big enough where it becomes gate kept by
well,
dollars?
I've also heard that right now, and I don't know if this is true, so take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
I could be speaking out of my ass right now, but from what I've heard, the rumor is that they're all taking a loss right now, like by making the generation credits the prices that they are, because they're trying to grow the models and get everybody involved. That like at some point we're going to see a massive like actually it's going to be this much for
Actually, it's going to be $20K a month.
yeah to generate with credits and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, could be, because they need to build up clientele essentially. Like they need us there, like, and making sure we're going to stick around. But I mean, there'll always be the model that'll undercut the other model, but
yeah.
eventually there will be like, kind of like with VO, like you make a model that's just so good, like everyone's gonna be like, well, I really want that model, you
Right.
know? So yeah.
Look, obviously the big thing right now is there's people pushing back on copyright issues, that there is like still a push to figure out the legalities of prompts and different things. Where do you stand on owning IP and copyright issues? And are there any court cases that you're watching or concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously very interested in the Midjourney one because I use Midjourney a lot.
Yeah.
So, and there's no denying it's trained on copyright data. Like I can prompt, like when I made, so I made a Batman film back in December. And this is what I would say was the thing that really launched the whole everything. Like I was making AI videos and I was getting a lot of buzz in the AI community. But when I made the Batman short film, that's when everything changed, where like studios started looking at me and all this. And it was because I got done watching HBO's The Penguin. I thought it was awesome, but Batman's not in it. And I was like, it'd be dope if we told the story of what Batman was doing during the events of The Penguin. So I, made a model of Robert Pattinson, Jeffrey Wright. I cloned all of their voices. Like I literally took Batman.
In 11 Labs.
Yeah, so I took.
You can't do that anymore with 11 Labs,
Yeah, you
right?
still
Oh,
can.
You still can.
You still can. Yeah. They ask you, do you have the rights to this
Right.
person's voice? And all the person has to do is click, yep. And then it lets you train it. So it's not like where VO and there's other ones like Runway that have definitely gotten smarter on the visual side, where if like you put an image in or you prompt like this public figure or actor, and it'll be like, I won't, like it essentially tells you like I won't do it because like they know you don't have the rights to that person. But no, there's still a lot of tools where essentially if you're like, yeah, I have the rights, I don't do that anymore now. But in the early stages, I was like, wild, it's still
Wild West.
It's still the Wild West, but like even then it was even more Wild West. So I did it, and I made this Batman film, put it out, and it blew up. Like, I mean, Tech Radar, I remember they had it like on their front page of their site, and they were like, you know, this Batman film's incredible and it's made with AI, da 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 da. It was up for 5 days. I got all these write-ups, all this press and studios hitting me up. And then I wake up one morning and it's gone everywhere. And I'm like, what? And, you know, I can't figure out why it's gone on all the social media apps except for YouTube. I go to YouTube and it'll show you who pulled it down. And it literally just says Warner Brothers, you know? And I was like, oh, wow. So Warner Brothers took it down. And then I got the cease and desist later.
Wow.
And I'm now convinced, though, that because there's so much Robert Pattinson Batman fan film or Ben Affleck fan film stuff that never gets pulled. So at first I was convinced that maybe I hit too close to home with like just the story. But now I am convinced after they officially announced that James Gunn, because he's making the Clayface film, but originally Matt Reeves had Clayface as the main villain for Batman 2. And that's who I had in the villain in mind. Was Clayface. And I was like, it was because this, but it was also because I literally like did the villain Matt Reeves was going to do.
They had like a DEFCON 5 meeting.
Yeah, they were like,
who leaked the script?
Yeah, exactly. How did this guy know already? But it was like, oh no, like Matt Reeves was doing a grounded Batman, and Clayface is like such a cool character to like take from the mystical version of like, you know, giant man made of clay into like, I did like a master of disguise, like a dude who like makes these clay masks that look like you or me, like he can become anyone, like a chameleon type character. And so that was like the version, and he was like this like twisted serial killer. So I was like, you know, like it fits the Matt Reeves world that he was building. But
Star Wars didn't get taken down though.
No.
Star Wars embraces fan film.
Yeah, they always have. To my knowledge, from what I've heard, as long as fan film is in the title, they won't ever pull anything down because they actually like.
There's some good ones out there.
There is, yeah. I mean, you see the Stormtrooper vlogs that went viral.
I love it.
Those were when I saw that was another one of those moments where I was like, damn, that's a good idea. Like. I was like, how did I not like, you know, it's like, how did you not think of that? Because it's like, that's such like a good, because I've actually seen live action Star Wars fan films that have done that years ago.
World for comedy, like filming it like The Office, but Stormtroopers is like what needs to be done.
I'm surprised Disney hasn't like, how have you not like.
They don't listen.
No, I mean, I don't get me started on that, on the aspect of when it comes, because I'm such a Star Wars fan, even though I haven't liked anything in over a
Mando season
years.
1, I was into it.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. It wasn't incredible, but it was fine. But like, to me, I'm like, Star Wars, if just done right, could just be such a cash cow.
Yeah.
But now you're having like Star Wars fans who've lived and breathed this world. Like I'm a fan, but there's like,
it's their
fans.
identity, it's their life.
And it's like, now they have the tools, they can go make like some stories, and it's like, there's going to be some really dope Star Wars stuff coming out of that, you know? And so I think, again, that goes back to will these lawsuits or things, will it eventually turn into like us as individual creators pay a subscription fee or this to license the IP to then go make whatever things, you know, we want to make in these worlds? They're not obviously like, you know, like, oh, this is a Disney project, but it's licensed. So it's like, I have fair use. And for them, it's like, just keep letting it go, grow the brand. And it's like, but I think what would be cool is if they do this licensing thing, and then you can put it out on YouTube. And if you have a huge fan base, or like, for instance, the vlogs, because that was the one other thing about it, is like, this is awesome. Can't make any money from this because you don't own the IP. So it's just literally social media content. But imagine if you can put something like that out and make money from it. Like, you're getting millions and millions of views, but how they would do it is by you having this licensing fee. And then when YouTube does those payouts, a chunk of that money is going to go to Disney.
Right.
Because you're using their thing. But it's like, but you could still make money off of it too. And you're making money now off of Star Wars. But you're making them money because now you've made a successful Star Wars show and they didn't have to do anything.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of ways it'll shake out, but it's tough to say. I mean, there's so many elements, especially when I think there's a lot of things that I think are going to need at some point some form of regulation as these tools do get better. I think about it more so, you know, unfortunately, because like, I'm not a guy into politics or any of that stuff, you know, like the world's just a mess as it is. But once people are able to like create some really dark stuff, like, you know, like a world event that maybe never happened.
Or even change what happened in a piece of viral footage as like a riot is breaking out or something.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
yes. Like you can literally create like a world event, and if you get enough people to start sharing it because it looks real and feels real and it's real and it goes around, and then people are like, holy shit, like there's some crazy thing happening in this country right now. And none of that's happening. You know, like the misinformation can get spread really fast, and it could lead to like dangerous repercussions.
I don't know how you regulate that though.
I don't either.
I don't either. And the other problem, the other consequence of that too, is that once a lot of that fake stuff floods and a lot of people feel like they got, you won't believe real things anymore too.
I think a lot of people don't already believe real things.
And I think it's just going to get like supercharged, you know, once the idea of like the deep fake becomes this like common thing out there that, you know, the X person says something on TV and you're like, oh, that's not real because I don't believe it, you know, it's crazy. Yeah.
Like if I remember correctly.
How do you regulate?
Yeah. Like, you know, I could also see where when it comes to actors, you know, them selling their likeness and who they are to studios. Like, like
didn't Bruce Willis do that?
I thought it was James Earl Jones, I believe.
I know he gave it to Star Wars.
To Disney for Star Wars. He was like, you can use my voice forever as Darth Vader.
Him, because there should never be another voice that plays
I agree.
Vader.
But to me, it starts becoming weird but, you know, if the actor chooses to make this decision, it's their choice. But like, what if like Brad Pitt, you know, he's starting to get older. He's always known as like the good looking kind of rugged guy. Yeah. Eventually that's, you know, with all age, eventually, you know, he's what, in his 60s now. Eventually, I mean, he might look good until he dies. Who knows? He might be like 90 years old and still, 90 years old, still somehow like looking like good. But what if he's like, here's my life rights. You give me $500 million. And you can make, you know, but now it's like, now whatever studio owns that can put him in any kind of role, any kind of thing without his decision.
Then he literally becomes Benjamin Button.
Yes. And so, but I'm like that, I started thinking about that of like, what about actors and talent to where like they can be celebrities forever? Cause like another thing I had heard was, I believe it was, I'm going to forget the actor's name. He's deceased, but the owner of his estate was looking at making an AI film starring him. And because they own his estate, they have the rights to do this and say like, yeah, you can use his voice, his likeness and all that because they want to bring him back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a very...
Well, they did that in Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah. But they've done it, you know, with like, I think more so for like minor roles and things like that, or like essentially a cameo. I'm thinking like,
the whole movie,
you're the main character. This person's dead.
So Vin Diesel can just do Fast and the Furious forever.
Yeah. And like, because you kind of have that right now, even with, I don't know how much, I mean, I know they're using some AI for the deep fake elements of it, but like they're doing that with Paul Walker for this Fast and the Furious.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Because I hadn't heard that.
So Vin Diesel said, because this is the last one, it doesn't feel right to not end it with the Brian Walker character involved. And so they're doing the same thing like how they did with that cameo. Like, I don't know the extent of his role, but it's the same thing.
Like the Carrie Fisher cameo.
Yeah, they're having his brother come back that looks kind of like him, and then they're going to do the superimposed deep fake and all that. And the from when they did that one way back after he passed away, the tech was pretty rough back then. I imagine now it's going to look really good.
Yeah.
To where like, I don't think we'll be able to be like, unless they do it really poorly. But I mean, even like with what they did on the Eminem music video, Houdini, where they used AI to deep fake him to look young. There was some parts that were like, but overall, like there was a lot of shots where I was like, damn, he really does look like
that was a really cool music
20-year-old Slim Shady. Yeah. So I was like, that was cool, you know? So
yeah, those conversations between the two of them were pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like
so
on their press tour and all that.
Yes. And that was done by, I can't remember, but it was an AI company that did it. It was an AI deepfake company. The copyright stuff will be very interesting.
Yeah. So what happens if people say, all right, if it's exported via AI, then that footage cannot be copyrighted? How will that impact how studios embark on AI films?
I mean,
Like if anyone can use your train derailment sequence or your Godzilla or whatever it is.
That's why we don't have it. Like, that's why movies haven't already implemented it, because there is so many concerns. But there's tools like VO, which, you know, as we were talking about, because they own YouTube, you're essentially giving them the rights by uploading to YouTube. You know?
Right.
So that's why they still have trained on everything, Star Wars, this, that, and the other, because they're looking at it as like, I get that like other people could upload it, you know, against their permission, but also like, where's anyone going to put their movie trailer if it's not on YouTube?
Right.
Like, who's going to see it then? You know, like, so
I
it's
think
like,
Instagram does that as well, right? When your terms of service, you don't technically own any photos that you post on there, I believe.
Probably.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
I don't know about the ownership, but you definitely are surrendering over the rights for them to train. Like same with Facebook, because Facebook and Instagram both owned, you know, by Zuckerberg and their crew. Everything you upload to those platforms, they have the absolute right to go and train on. So if, you know, whenever the Meta's AI comes out and then we gen like, you know, guy in a white shirt, whatever, and suddenly I'm getting an image that looks just like you.
Yeah.
Well, it's because if you've uploaded images to them or whatever,
Right.
you have technically given them rights to train on your face. And so, and then their approach is, well, if you don't want that to happen, don't use our platform. And like, again,
Checkmate.
yeah, exactly. That's where it's kind of been. Midjourney is an interesting one because they don't have any of that kind of stuff. You know, they just
Right.
went out and did it, but then but they were the first. And so they've become very big. I don't think Midjourney will go under or be killed or whatever. I think what'll end up either happening is they're going to pay a hefty settlement fee, or they're going to work into some kind of licensing fee through this, you know, result of them being sued by, I believe it was Disney, and I can't remember who the other plaintiff was on it, like Sony or somebody. But it'll be interesting. You know, it's something to watch. I just always come back to, look, I'm just a user of the tools.
Right.
I'm just, you know, I also haven't made any money from any of the ideas that I've put out into the world. You know, it's just simply to show, and I use that to then, you know, get myself in position for work.
I mean, you're a really good example of somebody that noticed where a trend was going and just dove right in. And being first is huge, and
It is,
also
yeah.
excelling at like taking that time to spend those 14-hour days and to do all this and to perfect it and to put out a product that literally, you know, gets like 1 million views and people, you know, earned media of people writing articles about what you did. Like that is kudos to you for diving into it. And as like the world speeds up and every 3 days there's a new tool and that can do things, like I think it's just a testament for anybody out there, if they're creative or if they're entrepreneurial or whatever. It's like take something new and realize that moment that the playing field is even and you can just race.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously you had knowledge in filmmaking, so it helped, and you had all these ideas that you had banked, but you took advantage of the new opportunity, which was, oh, wow, like I don't have to, you know, shoot at the bodega and make Clerks. I can, all these fantastical worlds that I wanted to build that I never thought I could. Now you have the tools to do it, and you did it. So,
yeah. I mean, that I think is the most exciting part, you know, of when the AI was in the early days, I primarily focused on existing IP because I didn't want to waste any of my ideas
Right.
with like what I knew was like essentially already
Practice.
outdated tech. Yeah. So like, but it was like, well, this stuff's like in its early stage. And because I knew it was trained on a lot of these things, I was like, I'll be able to get like some fairly good results. So like, but instead of doing things that were already so popular, like Avengers and stuff like that, I was like, I'm going to go for projects that I felt never got good movies. So I did like G.I. Joe and Power Rangers and Spawn and, you know, things like that, like all the like unserviced, I felt like, characters. And then that was what eventually led to the Batman and then Star Wars and then now Then after Star Wars, I was like, from here on, I felt the tools were good enough to like, okay, now I can just start doing originals. And so that's everything I do forward now is just original IP.
now VO3 is coming out with, you know, performances that are getting better without actor capture. How important is it, do you feel, to have that element that you did, which is keep real actors in, capture the content, the performances, that collaboration, that you know, creative input that you're getting from, the traditional way of doing things versus a trained model and a prompt?
For me, I've said I will always use actors from once I did Echo Hunter on, because unless I'm making like some like thing like Untold, like some small short 2-minute concept trailer. But if I'm going to go make like an actual film or short film or project, I'm going to use actors because the nuances are unmatched. The improvisation is unmatched. Like whatever, even if it gets lifelike with the AI models, whatever I prompt it to say, that's what it's going to say, period. Whereas actors will sometimes change a word in the dialogue, do something a little different.
A pause here.
Yeah. Things I'm not going to think to prompt for. So those are important elements to maintain. And I think the collaboration process also just serves itself as a bigger benefit. It makes a project bigger than simply just you. I think that's what makes it so cool is the more I try to involve as many people as possible. Like if I didn't enjoy sound design, I would bring on a sound designer. It's just I really love that element. But I mean, it's still not like AI did the sound. I did the sound design. Like I'm sourcing sound effects and like either kit bashing them or I'm making the sound effects myself. And so all of that is, human made. And then when I did Echo Hunter, like I worked with a composer. And like any like film projects like that, I'll be working with composers. Because I do very much, like you can prompt AI to write music, but what's great about working with composer is like, in traditional film, you would send them the scene without any music, and then they're going to score it to the scene, so it rises and falls in the right correct spots. So with this, I want to just like, that's what I like, but now I just work in a different pace with my composer. Like he usually makes like a very rough kind of broken track that like is kind of bass. And I throw that in, I'm editing to that. And then I tell him timestamps of this is when it needs to go up. This is when it needs to go down. This is where it needs to this and this. And then he goes through and makes it. But like, we're literally like in Discord going back and forth, like messaging each other like nonstop the whole time while the scene's getting crafted. And then like, I love working with actors. I love like their interpretations, but I will say this, like, not everyone will necessarily have the means to always work with actors or talent or this, that, or the other. So I think there's a world for both because I do think, depending on the person's situation, I don't want to stop anyone from telling their stories. So it's like they might use the AI actors to do that. They, like I'm very fortunate because like I've had connections that I've made throughout time. And then, as you grow in popularity, you get more people that want to work with you. But when you're first starting, like you kind of have to like tough it through, the whole way. And so like, I had to do the exact same thing, like when I very first started making all these things, it was like me doing all the acting, me doing all of this stuff. Like it was like all a one-man band kind of thing. And the only reason I was doing the acting because VO3 didn't exist yet at this stage. Had VO3 existed, I would have been prompting the characters to talk and all that. And because even VO3 is a better actor than I am. So like, it's good. Like, I think the problem is with VO3 is at least right now, I haven't actually tried this. So again, but I've read this and some of my friends in the space have said this is true. But that if you do the JSON file route in VO3, you do get a more consistent voice with that character. So
is it better for like motion and scene consistency too?
Yes.
Because I've been trying to make a cartoon in VO3 because I have a children's book that I'm trying to expand into a cartoon. And it's just like sometimes I'm banging my head against the wall on prompts.
Do you already have the images made?
I have yes, but now I'm asking it for different camera angles and things that don't exist.
So well, now try that new runway feature.
Right. Yeah.
And then also like taking those images, feeding it into something like you could essentially make a mood board with Midjourney, but understanding like if you put those images into Midjourney trains on them. So just that's like an understanding, but you can put those images into Midjourney, create a mood board. And then when you're prompting your look of that, then you have your mood board attached. It'll produce, especially if those are the only images in the mood board, it'll come out exactly like that.
Wow.
And then, you're just describing your character and all that stuff. But there's a lot of tools that can essentially, get it there. But, and then, you know, cause I always, pretty much everything I do, I always do image to video as opposed to text to video.
Yeah,
I find
I do
that
that
there's
as well.
a lot more control there. I think text to video, you know, if you have issues with the shots, you're going to have to then go through and do some form of like VFX post cleanup and things like that.
Yeah. How
Whereas-
much of it are you bringing into Photoshop and cleaning up?
A lot. Yeah.
So Nick, are you, what's your prompt game as a cinematographer that, you know, likes to tinker with cameras and shoots beautiful imagery on the road in exotic locations? Are you prompt engineering and practicing with AI? Or are you still keeping it at arm's length?
No, I mean, I'm primarily in the documentary lane, which I
think will stay.
pretty comfortable. I don't think we're going to make AI about documentary, you know, maybe we'll make a documentary.
That's going to be a sad
AI.
documentary.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and things that are grounded in reality, you know, sports events, like that kind of stuff. But definitely playing around with it and the prompting stuff. And I think it is really good to have that. Like, I think everyone's going to want to have some sort of like visual background and learning how to communicate what you want. And I think you learn that on set really well. And I think that's what's really cool of having that set experience. But yeah, I think that's where I found that I've had a lot of success with doing like prompting and the stuff I've built and tested, is just kind of knowing that what am I trying to get here? And that's what I think we all experience on set all the time is like, this thing isn't working. I'm tired. I'm a little frustrated. I'm overwhelmed. This, you know, I need these things to happen. Okay. How do I communicate my idea clearly to another person to get something that I need to achieve this shot or this lighting or this performance? And yeah, so I mean, I think that's where I'm kind of seeing it. And I think, yeah, any chance I'm like, okay, how do I stay ahead of a tool? That's kind of my big thing. And I'm doing less of the like kind of generating ideas and just more of like, okay, what can give me an edge as a person in this filmmaking world is like a more of as like as this is a craft, you know, it's like, oh, okay, what can I like, is this autofocus system better than this autofocus system? Or if, you know, the really bad sounds, you know, going through, and I've gone through like 10 different sound AI softwares. And I'm like, oh, I know this sound software can take out this noise. So on set, I can confidently say like, we're good here. We can roll through it kind of thing. Or, you know, that traffic noise, I took that out on a thing last week. It was no problem. Or, you know, I think. Or
generative fill. Don't worry about that top part of it.
Exactly. And kind of knowing where you can guide your clientele on that. Like, you know, I built a mood board for a shoot that I did yesterday. And that was like, that I think is where it's like amazing. This like phenomenal tool to have of like, where we're still shooting a real photographer in their real studio and like that whole process, but we wanted to do it in a specific way. So I took the location photos, I took that photographer, and then I started playing around with a couple different looks and a couple different vibes and a couple, whereas before I would have to take, you know, 5, 6, 7 hours pulling references and then curating the references, and the references aren't quite right. And then I've got
take this from that image and that from that.
Exactly. Then I got to color grade all the images to kind of make them look uniform. And now it's just like, I can, build out those images. And I think that's where it's like a really cool thing. And I think that's where a lot of people in this world should be thinking about AI is like, how do I elevate what I'm already doing, and how do I do what I'm doing more efficiently, and how do I cut corners and save time and bring value in a way that I haven't been bringing value with a tool. So that's how I've been using it, which is, it's been really, really cool. You know, like project we did a couple weeks ago, you know, I fed it the location photos, I fed it the script, and I was like, just give me a basic storyboard of this, like just so I could kind of visualize it. And it broke me down like a 12 block like storyboard of a simple spot we shot. And then you're like, oh, okay, I got a good like kind of wrap my head around it. Then it was like you were saying earlier, like, oh, let me bounce some ideas. Like, if you were shooting this commercial, what are some things to look out for? What are some things to consider? What are some things to bring to it? How could I, you know, bring a little something unexpected? So using it as a sounding board is pretty cool as well. But yeah, it's all happening fast, man. It's crazy. Like,
I think about that like when I first started using ChatGPT, it was very robust. Now I use ChatGPT for everything.
Yeah.
Like in the sense of like, instead of going to Google, I'll go to ChatGPT sometimes like for like, your random Google questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I find it gives me way more stuff,
Yeah.
my wife and I just did like a costume party for my best friend. It was his wife's 40th birthday, and we went as Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson. And I was like, what are some like famous outfits that Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson wore throughout the time they were dating? And just like huge list of like, if you reference in the 1997, they had this look and this look at this award show or whatever. And I'm like, and it's like a lit. And then, if you don't, give me more.
Right,
more.
yeah.
And it's just like, it's crazy. Like, like how much you can start using it for things like that. And also we've built like, Mike built like he likes Claude. He built a Claude bot that's like based off of him. He fed it like every treatment and like legal document and everything that he's ever done. So then he'll like, when we're in negotiations or whatever with someone, we'll go through and make the Claude bot play either us and we're playing the client, and then we go back and forth with it, like
that's next level.
grilling the shit out of it. And it's like, da, da, da. And then it'll give us like a summary of like, all right, when you go into this meeting, like it's best to approach it like this, this, and this. If they say this, you want to be this, this. And so like you can do like a full roadmap of like,
negotiation prep.
yeah, like exactly
That's really
prepped
cool.
to be into these kind of things. And it's quite shocking at how accurate it can end up being. So there's all sorts of wild elements. Another job that, I'm seeing, unfortunately, like less and less due to AI, but I tell these same people, like anyone, these tools in the hands of people who are experienced are going to be very, they're going to be very deadly with. Yeah. And that's like storyboard artists.
Yeah, storyboard artists.
Like, I mean, we make boards all the time for companies because we can turn and burn them in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And like, they love them. Like, we send them a client, amazing.
Sometimes they're too good.
So
And
this
you're
is
like, your budget can't afford what this looks like.
Listen to this. This is so
It'll be
good.
close.
Yeah. We were doing the storyboards like real life, right? With like the lighting and everything. Problem is one of the directors on one of the jobs got so attached to it that he was going up to the DP like, I want it exactly like this. So no, how we prompt now is literally exactly how you draw a storyboard. It's black and white, like sketch style, very robust, because it was like, no, like if you went too good with the boards, you could have the potential where either the client, the agency, or the director gets too attached to the boards themselves. Yeah. And it's like, it needs to look exactly like this. And then you're like, then it becomes a whole headache, So
we had a spot that we made storyboards for, and they're like, do you want to share this with the client? The team was like, we should just share this with the client. I was like, I can't. Shooting this in the day, I do not have the bandwidth to light how this looks. So, no, you cannot, because it will not look like this. We're shooting at high noon. I have 30 minutes to light this scene. It's not going to look like these boards, but it would be great if we could.
Right. Yeah.
But
maybe Runway.
Maybe Runway can do it.
Yeah. I mean, the Runway relight feature is, like I said, I haven't got a chance to mess around with it, but I am truly blown away by like the results I've been seeing come out. Like
to live footage, relighting
live footage or
live
AI
shot
footage. Yeah, any footage.
Yeah.
It's just whatever you put into it.
I think that's going to be the one.
I mean,
that's
that's
going to be using it. Like it's going to be.
And the coverage as well.
Yeah.
Like that was the other thing that was crazy is, like for instance, one of my friends, he put in a shot. It's like a guy walking from behind. And then he was like, give me coverage of it. Granted, this was an AI shot, but then all of a sudden he's got like a front facing shot of like the guy walking, a side profile shot of the guy walking, and then like a low angle of like his hands just like kind of focusing on the hands, like walking like this, like from the side.
Yeah, I need that for that cartoon. That's what I need.
Right. Essentially, it just is going to provide you more coverage. But then the other one, I haven't seen as many examples on this that I have seen when Runway put it out from their example was, what's the next shot look like? So then it'll like, let's say this person's walking this way. And then you're like, you can prompt it. All right, what's the next shot look like? Like they're going to walk through a door into like a bar. And then it's going to prompt that character walking in through a door, into a bar. And so like, I mean, and these updates just keep coming at a rapid clip. I mean, the rumors I keep hearing is VO4 is coming out before the end of this year.
Really?
Yeah. And so like, I mean, that's light speed, you know, I mean, I don't know. That's why I believe I've dubbed it as the tipping point when we get to indistinguishable AI from real life. I really believe it's next year because I just think we're moving at such a pace.
2026 is no longer, you can no longer hang your hat on like, I knew it was AI.
Exactly.
It's going to be a wild guess and bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Like where I think like you can send, like how you said, where you've already been sending your friends like real life footage and they're like, I see the AI. And you're like, well, no, it's real life.
Yeah.
You know, I know you're like, but I think like even, you know, like I always, you know, like am shocked. And like another friend of mine, he did a hybrid and I was watching it and there was a few moments where I knew when the shots were AI, but there were some when I was like messaging him and I was like, all right, these are the shots I think are real life. These are shots I think are hybrid. AI. And he was like, you got most of them right. And I was like, oh shit, no way. And then there was like 4 or 5 shots in there that I thought were real life and they were AI. And I was like, no way. I was like, it looks so good.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I couldn't believe it. Like it was that dialed in. So,
I mean, I thought your kids were green screen. So
yeah, right.
Untold. So that was my moment, but yeah, it's happening. It's happening fast. Jeez.
Yeah. It's, I mean, it's here, you know, I mean,
here.
it's time to implement it to whatever degree. And to your documentary point, one thing I could see AI being great in documentaries is true crime documentaries.
Oh, of course, the reenactments. Yeah,
the reenactments
100%.
all the way. Yeah.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Because when I watch,
That'll
like,
be-
there's a lot of, and I think where this will really be helpful is, there's a lot of people, like my wife loves to watch true crime documentary, like podcasts, like on YouTube, where they talk about it and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this could take their production value. Like, it's already good, but I'm like, times, you know, instead of just showing like screenshots of like, screenshot from the court, you know, screenshot. I'm like, if you actually like made the reenactments, this little story elements all with AI to go along with the story, I'm like, oh, now you've got like a full blown like History Channel type production here.
Totally.
Yeah. So I think for the, maybe not as much for the studios, but for like the independent content creators and things like that, big time. Yeah. That are doing those kind of like podcast style, like specifically true crime is where my brain went, where I was like, oh, that would be really nice.
Yeah, pretty much anything I think that doesn't have to be grounded in that moment.
Right, exactly.
Because like the recreate is, you know, it's like the same thing as a movie. You know, it's the same thing.
Yeah, there is no footage of it.
Of an event that we are responsible for adaptation of, and yeah, I can 100%.
Or like history, anything
Totally.
like deep history or
absolutely, yeah. Like instead of an animation of a past event, maybe you feed it like whatever archival photos and, you know, somebody's journal at that time, and then have AI just kind of recreate the interpretation of moments of their life. And yeah, I could totally see that. But yeah.
Or even what
And
people
you
have been doing
know-
with the Bible is like crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. Wild, man.
It's
Yeah.
wild.
But then you get into the whole, like, you know, that couple years ago, the Anthony Bourdain film came out. They used his voice, and that was AI, and that like sparked this big backlash. And so you get into this like ethical space. Of,
I think that one's a little more.
like,
I think anything where even if someone's passed, like we've lived in this generation era, you know, it gets dicey. I think where you're going to run into any of that is like, this is something that happened in the 1600s. No one's going to care. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, because we don't have anything. Like this is a good way to represent it. As opposed to, especially again for independent content creators that do like history style pods and docs and things like that. Like it really ups that production value substantially.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of things like that. And then, you know, with the major studios, I mean, they are using AI right now. It's just nothing that's consumer facing. Previs, no longer having to do animatics, like crappy animatics. Now you can like make the movie.
yeah.
And then it's like, okay, let's see how this looks. Or having to redo scenes when you're going through like testing with audiences. And if they don't like certain scenes, instead of normally where they would just slap in new storyboards and be like, okay, check this out, because they want to make sure they get the audience's approval before they go reshoot this thing. Now you can throw in like an AI put together sequence. So it at least still feels like, because even as a test audience, you think about it, you're watching a movie and then it's like, okay, and now we cut to like 3 minutes of like snapshots of storyboards. It's like, how did that make you feel? It's like, I guess it was okay. Like, I guess it's cool.
The comic book version.
Yeah, it's like, but now it's like the AI where it's like, yeah, you're going to know it's AI, but it's going to be like in the same lighting, the same style, the same everything, to where it's like, it's not going to take them out
it's
so
not
much.
jarring.
Yeah, to where like they can then give like an actual thing of like, you know what, actually that scene is good.
So that's
And they go
already
reshoot it.
happening at mass scale.
That's happening right now.
That's like standard.
That is literally happening as we speak. Yeah.
Wow.
So they do that all the time. I mean, you know, that's why you've seen studios like Lionsgate partnering with Runway, Amazon. I can't remember who their partnership was with. I think they partnered with Luma was one of them. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot of, and then obviously the big one is Moon Valley and their clean, ethically sourced model that they're building, that's gone public, but they're constantly improving it, and that's trained on they own all the data that it's trained on. So they got cinematographers to go shoot, and then, you know, whether like they license the footage or whatever, but they did it all ethically sourced. And so CAA, we're talking CAA, biggest talent agency ever. It just invested $85 million into them. So like,
so that's a bet that CAA is making that this copyright thing might be an issue.
And here's the AI tool that's not going to have a copyright issue. So essentially they're betting on Moon Valley is going to become like down the road, like to the forefront of all the tools, especially, you know, like right now it's great. It's not a full, you know, top to bottom, like best tool on the market yet, but it's incredibly, like, I very much enjoy it. And I think the thing that the studios very much enjoy is like, if they use it, they know they're not going to hit any legal hoops along the way. They're going to be able to use it, create something, stick it out.
Interesting.
No problems.
It's definitely interesting times.
Very interesting. I mean,
very interesting times.
We live in the future. That's the
Yeah.
craziest thing to think about. The only thing we don't have is flying cars.
Yeah.
But I know my last thing on that is everyone's always like, because I got that crap, same with Echo Hunter. Why was there no flying cars if this is like in the future? I don't believe there'll ever be flying cars. Do you realize like,
It was like some Jetson stuff.
yeah,
back
like,
in,
well, do you realize the amount of accidents we will, unless they're AI driven, but you're trying to tell me like people are suddenly like, everyone instead of going to like driver's ed, they're going to go to aviation school?
Yeah.
No. Like,
Yeah.
no, it's got to be like, I think cars will stay on the ground.
How much has your life changed now that you are kind of at the forefront of this and been getting a lot of attention from these last two films?
I mean, that it's crazy, you know, like currently in a lot of like conversations I can't go too much in depth with, but, you know, would love to come back maybe in 6 months and have a lot of fun updates, because right now it's a lot of development. So I'm in a lot of development conversations that are really exciting. And all of that's because of AI, you know, like I've now been, I think, to every major studio in Hollywood except for Warner Brothers. Hey, you can steal your friend. Yeah,
They hold a grudge.
They
I
really,
guess.
they're the only studio that's never once reached out to me or said anything to me. But you know, and that I was never on any of the studio's radar, you know, prior to AI. So, you know, I mean, I thought I was literally going to make music videos and commercials till I die. Like I was like, this is, you know, and like I got into film to make movies, but you know, you start one thing and then you start making money and you're like, oh, okay, well then this is a good life. And it's kind of the next thing you know, that's what you're doing. And then time flies.
Well, kudos to you for being first and doing it exceptionally well. And I'm really excited to see where you go. And please come back in 6 months so that we can, who knows what the tools are going to be at that point, but I'm sure you're going to be on the pulse of it. So
it'll be just a digital version of me sitting here, hologram me.
It's going to be a fake podcast. We'll just have the convo. But no, this is exciting. And then like, you know, I really wanted to do this episode because I feel like we're documenting a real moment in time. And I'm honored to have you on our set.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for
Nick,
having me.
Thank you. And cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
To the future. Or our impending doom. I don't know, but...
or as Buzz Lightyear says, to infinity and beyond.
Yes. Well, with that note, Zucks, send it to the internet, brother.